in the course of nearly 10 years, this is what I've learned about working with over 1,000 successful one-on-one clients. Now, I emphasized one-on-one clients because I've actually trained many more people. We've had group programs and masterminds and mentorships in different formats, but I'm specifically just talking about my one-on-one clientele. And if we haven't met each other already, hello, welcome to the Playground Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This is your space for spiritual exploration, self-mastery, magic, mysticism, and basically remembering that the world is your playground. So you get to be curious and childlike and have fun as you're healing and doing the thing. Now, a little extra context is I'm also the founder of Flow Breathwork Facilitator Training, where I certify breathwork facilitators, and also the creator of AlwaysPlay Studios, where I mentor aspiring healers. And I wanted to give you a little bit of context because it is important to know that I'm somebody who's in the healing arts, and I work with a lot of wellness professionals who are also either desiring to up their skill set in the healing arts, or they're aspiring healers in the healing arts. So whether that means they are therapists, they're coaches, they're nurses, they're doulas, they're people who are in the sound healing profession, they're people who are in the wellness professions who are wanting to gain their skills in the healing arts and bring these skills into their community. Now, the context of my work is important when I'm talking to you about what I've learned about working with over 1,000 one-on-one clients over the years, is that these are all people who have this big desire to help others. These are our teachers, these are the guides, these are the professors, the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, the social workers. Like, these are people who are actually working on their crafts, but oftentimes they're kind of held up by, limiting beliefs. Sometimes it's a little perfectionism. Sometimes we got some imposter syndrome in there. Sometimes it's life that gets in the way. Sometimes it's a little procrastination energy. Sometimes it's self-doubt. Sometimes there's many other things that kind of play into the story of why people don't fully go into the thing that they want to do, and particularly in the healing arts, in the helping profession. So I wanted to have this conversation in a reflective way. So I don't really believe that there is something I'm like, okay, this is what you're going to be able to take away from this. But I do think sometimes hearing somebody else reflect their experience kind of gives you context to your own experience. So my hope is that by you listening, you can also try to see what it means for you to be successful with your one-on-one clients. And if you're somebody who's like, I don't have clients, but if you want to, this is some information that you can kind of like pin in the back of your mind and kind of refer to as you're getting started in the healing arts too. Okay. So I really have no idea how long this conversation is going to be. So I recommend that you cozy down, get some tea, get cozy, and whatever it is that you're doing, and let's go. So one of the reasons why I've been able to have so many success stories with my one-on-one clients, and just a sidebar, do you understand how many clients is 1,000+ students? It's a lot, okay? So I've definitely worked on getting my repetition, my reps in. So what that means for me is that this is not my first day on the job. I've been refining my craft over the course of several years, and through several repetitions, through several clients, and every single time I'm on a new call, I'm just getting better, and I'm fixating on the things that are working, and I'm actually really doing a lot of reflection and integration after every single call to make sure that the methodology that I've developed actually does do what I say it does. And the reason it's so important to work under a methodology is because then you take the guesswork out of what the heck you're doing. And a lot of coaches, teachers, and healers and folks in the healing profession, sometimes you are very, very open-ended, right? Like, you think that you're just going to go in and you're going to wing it and your intuition is going to guide you. And I do think those things play a very important part, like having the flexibility. But what actually allows you to have confidence and the ability in your skill sets is to be able to work with a proven and predictable methodology. And the methodology that I personally teach inside Flow Breathwork Facilitator Training has been dialed in to the T. And since 2020, which is the first time I started to teach online, because I wasn't online before. I know there's many people who are in the online space that were online already. I came online in 2020. I mean, I've been online forever, but I've been online for my work and my business only since 2020, and out of necessity, right? And since then, every single cohort, every single immersion, every single thing that I've run has been all about dialing in the methodology so that there is a formula that you can take to be able to have predictable results for your clients. And that's basically why I've been able to have so many successful clients. So let me take a pause there and kind of define what I mean by successful clients, right? So when you're in the healing arts, and what I've been working with are folks who often have perfectionism, people pleasing, self-doubt. That's kind of the general gist of like a lot of capable people, specifically women and women from underrepresented communities who feel like they can't really put out their work in the way that they want to. They're very qualified, they're very able, they're very capable, they have, access to resources, but oftentimes it's like, it just feels like a little scary thing to do a new thing. And there's this, there's this newness to that. And for me, success is really about sustainability. And sustainability is like, you have to wait for that, and sometimes we love like a quick win. We love to like have a breakthrough and have like a big awareness, but a sustainable growth or a sustainable way to heal, and specifically on a nervous system level, is to do things in a way that is maintainable and manageable. So success to my clients means that whatever we worked on, you're able to maintain that baseline now, and so the next time we work together, we're able to expand to your growth edge and then able to maintain that baseline again. And so it's not like we're like, okay, we're doing this work and then all of a sudden everybody's healed, because like, okay, what is that magic formula? You know what I mean? It's like, well, the magic formula is self-love. So I can't provide that for you. But that's something that you're going to have to do for yourself. But essentially it just means that you're able to have sustainability. And a mistake that a lot of coaches that are making, and even people that I'm personally friends with who are in the coaching space or in the healing space, or they're, whatever title they have, there's some way in the healing arts, is that they're not really able to celebrate the success of their clients, because one, they're not actually leading their clients to the result that was promised. And also, they're probably doing such work that it's short-term gratification and not long-term sustainability. And I'm a sustainable girl, okay? Like I love a short-term satisfaction too, don't get me wrong, because I do think that we need to feel, a quick success. I think our brains are wired to like feel that like dopamine hit, and we like the enjoyment of like, yes, I did a thing, you know what I mean? And like long-term goals, it's like, it's long. So there is more patience that's involved in there, and there's more nervous system regulation involved in there. There's also emotional regulation in there. There's also trigger regulation in there. There's so many different types of regulation that is involved in there that is not just on your client's end, it's also on your end. So if you're being impatient with the people that you're working with, it's like you're not going to be able to hold a space that is going to mirror and reflect their growth, because you're rushing them, like you're wanting the success so fast that you're kind of rushing them. And honestly, like as long as we were telling the truth here, like sometimes that has been frustrating to me, especially when I first started out online. And as I mentioned, I wasn't online before 2020. So I'm only in this work online for about 4 years in totality in the internet space. And it's like you do the work and you don't get to reap the benefits of your work until 2-3 years later, when the clients come back and they're like, that changed my life, or that really like shifted the way that I think. And oftentimes it's like you do doubt, like, did I do the work or did I not do it? Was I not successful? And so you do start to question that. But what I've learned through this methodology that I've created, that I mentioned that I teach inside Breathwork Facilitator training, is that it is something that is sustainable long-term, right? And so it's not just like being able to give them the quick wins. There is some parts of that, but it is the best feeling when I see these students 4 years later and they're coming back into certain, I host Breathwork Club, or they come into like a free workshop that I'm hosting, or they're coming into another mentorship with me in some form. It's so amazing to see like how much they've been not only able to maintain the baseline that we together got to, but also been able to extend that baseline because of the baseline that me and them got to. And that's like not a 2-day workshop, you know what I mean? And that's not like a 1 week, went to breathwork type of thing. That is a commitment that clients make to themselves that allows me to really be present with them, to hold room for all of these transformations that I hold space for. So let me take a break, because I'm like, okay, where am I going with this? And what was I talking about? I was talking about what I learned after 1,000 plus successful clients. And yeah, so I'll kind of like pin that point there. It's like having a methodology is so important because it takes the guesswork out. So now when I'm taking clients, I don't really have to guess like, is this going to work or that going to work, or should I try this? Yeah, sure. Like experimentation is still, part of the process, and adaptability is part of the process, and having like an openness to like new tools or new way or new perspective or shifting an old perspective. All of those things can be true while you're still working within a proven and predictable methodology. And so I'm dramatic when I say predictable, is because things happen in patterns. People behave in patterns. And especially, if you're interested in psychology, or you're interested in nature, or if you're interested in like, patterns of, animals or spawning or whatever it is that you're interested in, everything in life has a very predictable pattern. Okay. There's certain things that we cannot predict, but certain things is like predictable. You know what I mean? And just by the definition of what a pattern is that it's predictable, right? Like, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then it's 1, 2, 3, and then it's 1, 2, 3. So it's like, I'm not shocked when right after 2, it's 3. It's the order of operations, the order of things. And so when you're working within a methodology, you don't have to like reinvent the wheel all the time, and you don't have to be like, let me like figure out like what the pattern is. Like there's so many people who like already came up with the answer, right? Like if you read any kind of psychology, even if it's not academically inclined, if you're reading just like even pop psychology, they're breaking down patterns in a very, a digestible way. Tread clearly on like, making overarching claims of things that you read in pop psychology, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like there's patterns that they're talking about, patterns of human behavior, and patterns of thought, and patterns of action, and patterns of, fear. And a lot of us think that like these are such unique experiences to us, and it's like, oh no, like I'm not unique, sorry, we don't get to be pick-me's every day. It's like, I'm just not that unique. You know what I mean? It's like there's other people who have very similar fears and very similar issues and very similar things, and we're just so much more alike than we think. We're so much more connected in our problems than we think. And so that's good news. You know what I mean? It's not to say like, oh, nobody's unique. Like I'm sure your circumstances could have, bouts of uniqueness to it, but there's definitely other people who have experienced what you have experienced. And so this reminds me that the methodology is to be able to predict what's coming up for this client, and then be able to hold space for what's happening for that client, and also know what's next for that client. So at any given point, the past, the present, the future, and like the later future, I'm not having to guess. I'm taking the guesswork out of that. And this is so important for facilitators that I train, because they're also coming in from such an open-ended, perspective. And I kind of I touched upon this a little bit earlier, where you just feel like you need to show up to a client, and then you're just like, left to your own devices to do a thing. And on the opposite end of it, you might think like, okay, this is the methodology and I cannot, shift outside of that. The nice thing about a flow breathwork methodology is that there's so much room for you to grow and expand on your own experience of being the type of facilitator and practitioner that you are, while still having the structure. So it's not news to you that 2 comes after 1. So it's not news to you you that 3 comes after 2. And it's not news to you that 4 comes after 3. You're predicting that while still have room for your own expression, and that's something that's really important in the healing arts, that sometimes in traditional talk therapy or traditional wellness spaces, oftentimes we think that, like your personality has to disappear, or your personal experience or your personal energetic imprint has to disappear from the space, because like that's the professional answer. And I think the healing arts is different. And the way that I describe it being the healing arts is that you are the artist, so you have the possibility to express yourself in whatever way is more aligned and authentic to you. So let me talk about that. Okay. So another reason that I would reflect on why I have over 1,000 successful one-on-one clients is because of my own unique energy imprint. And this is where we're going into a little mystical talk, a little esoteric, which is that my energy is important in my relationship with my clients, okay? And I always remember that because they've chosen to work with me over many different people that they can work with. And it's not because, there's no other people to work with. There's plenty of other people to work with. And especially if you're complaining like, oh my gosh, like mentorship is so saturated and coaching is so saturated, and then there's billions of people that somebody can choose to work with. But why are they coming to me? Like what do they see in my abilities or skill sets that is a reflection on the type of experience that they believe that they're going to have with me? And it has to do with my energy, And so there is a very specific energy that I hold, which is literally my name, Shanila Sattar, translates to soft leader. And I've also been described as silk and sandpaper. So I resonate, there is a softness to me, but it's also very matter of fact. It's very direct. It's very cut to the point. It's very much, here it is in front of you, and you can do with it what you want to do with it. That is your option. And we can approach it in a way that's in line to you. But here it is. Here's, do you want me to beat around the bush? Because that's not me for you, And I think that's not for everybody, right? Like that can rub somebody the wrong way. And that could come off as being bitchy or to this or to that. But like, I'm not here giving you unsolicited advice. You're listening to my podcast. You know what I mean? Like click away at any point. Like that is your option. But this is my style, right? This is my communication style. This is also the way that I am able to communicate information to people in a way that resonates with them and in a way that really gives them that light bulb moment. Okay, light bulb meaning like light bulb went off in your head and you're like, oh yeah, I see it, or I get it finally. And I love that. I love that for us. You know what I mean? Because it's not for everybody. Some people are going to think it's too bitchy or it's too forward or it's too this or too that. And I have to remember, I don't care. I consistently remember that I don't care about people who are not aligned for me. Because if I'm not really being able to hold my particular energy imprint in a way that feels natural and in flow to me, then I can't do my job. Because now I'm pretending and now I'm code switching. Now you got me in my triggers now, because now I have to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. And now I'm a prisoner in a job that I created for myself, which is not where I want to be. So that is a trap. And I think that is a trap when you don't really feel like a sense of yourself. Okay. And I don't mean like, oh, you don't know who you are. And sometimes it is that, and I've definitely experienced times where I'm like trying to, formulate myself as the mentor for somebody who I know is not like the right person. And it's only happened like 1 or 2 times like earlier in my career. But I would say that this energy imprint is something that I really like you to take away as well. Okay. And anything that I'm saying on the podcast, like I hope you can apply to your own, circumstance in whatever way, but to have the ability to just really truly stick to your own essence is going to allow you to attract the type of clients that are meant to learn from you. And my prayer to myself and, what I'm like scribbling in my journal is like, please give me people who are meant to learn from me. Okay. Like, don't just put me into random places where like I'm not valued or my voice is not understood or I'm being picked at or this and that. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I do not care for that. I want to be in front of the people who are able to hear what I'm saying, who find value in what I'm saying. And then they're able to use that information in a way that is productive and of service to their lives. That's my prayer to my own work. This is like outside of you. It's like, this is my prayer to my own work. And that's a really important thing to remember when I'm doing any kind of work, right? Whether it's in the healing arts or whether it's making music or whether it's writing, or I just want to be of the highest service that makes sense for it to come through me. All right. Like if it's coming through you, then it should be your service, and if it's coming from somebody else, then it should have their energy imprint in it. And so it's important to stick to my essence. And I mentioned before, it's like, it's not that I always know what my essence is and I always am embodied in my essence, because I'm not, I'm not immune to insecurity. I'm not immune to feeling some type of way. I'm not immune to, doubt, or I'm not immune to things. I have to be aware of those things when they come up, and then I have the ability to work through that and just being like, oh, okay, I've kind of veered off to this wrong path, and so how can I bring myself back? And it's like, oh yeah, this is my flavor, this is my energy, this is my essence. And that's what allows me to have really deep and real connections with my clients. And if you've ever come into any of my workshops that I often offer around the year, I have free workshops, I have paid workshops, I have different things, but I often open up a lot of workshops to the community because I like for you to come. I like for you to dance with me. I like for you to vibe. I like for you to share stories. I love for you to meet each other. That is something that is still true in the way that I run my business. And so if you've ever come into any one of these spaces, or maybe you're a former student of mine, you know that when people are sharing, they're sharing some real shit. You know what I mean? And they're sharing how much the information or the words or something that was said in the container, whether it came from me or somebody else who was in that community space, it changed their life. You know what I mean? So you may have gotten to witness that. And it's not just like a one-off. There's always a handful of people who are sharing these stories about the value they've received because they're coming into these spaces with me. Right? And it's not that they couldn't do this work elsewhere, but there's a relationship, and it is a parasocial relationship, because oftentimes when you have an internet presence, or, even just followers on the internet, people think that they know you more than they actually do, and you definitely know them a lot less because you may not have any, contact hours with them. They're following you, or they're on your email list or something like that. You don't know them as much as they may feel like they know you. And that is because your essence, your energy resonates with them, and that's literally your vibe. When you hear the word vibe, your vibe is your vibration. Vibration is a resonance. It's a frequency, right? If you think about a sound wave, or if you think about anything that is a communication tool. So whether it's sound, whether it's light, whether it's, your voice, another form of sound, you even think about temperature, through touch, everything translates in resonance or a frequency. So when you're talking about your vibe, yeah, I vibe with you. It's I really resonance, right? I resonate with who you are and the words that you're saying, and the essence of you and the aura that you have. And that really, really impacts the way that they're able to have transformations with you, because they're already developing such a, strong connection to you in a parasocial way for sure, but a connection nonetheless. So this is the difference between somebody coming into your container, having no contact with you through anything, whether it's through a workshop or through, content that you put out or whatever it is, versus somebody who's had some contact with your content, and then they show up into this space ready to go. They already feel like there's this safety that's been created. Even if it's your first time meeting them, they're coming into the space with just an more open energy. So it's easier to co-create safety together. It's easier to co-create that narrative together. It's easier to have transformations together than if you're just working with somebody who's just oh, I just found you, on a directory, and I just clicked on you for, help, that's a different relationship than kind of this online scene where people are selecting you because of you. So, how are we doing so far? We're reflecting. I think I have maybe one more point of reflection that I want to make, but I do want to say if you're interested to come train in breathwork with me, we are enrolling for our cohort. So, if you are somebody who is wanting to learn psychosomatics, you want to learn about breathwork and the mind body connection, you want to help your clients have transformations, you want to help them learn about energy sciences, you want to learn energy sciences and be able to apply that in your work, and you want to learn this from a wisdom tradition perspective under a BIPOC lens, meaning in the lens of Black, Indigenous, people of color perspective, come through. We are enrolling at www.flowbreathworktraining.com. And you can also click directly onto it. I'll leave you a link in the show notes. But essentially, this is for you if you are a wellness professional who wants to have predictable results for your clients. And I always say, like, when you start getting into this work, it's not just you doing work with other people so that other people can have transformations. It's so that you can also literally change your life too. And if you've ever come into our workshops, you'll always see in the chat, like, Breathwork Facilitator training changed my life. And we stand by that. So www.flowbreathworktraining.com. And I will see you in there very soon. Okay, so let me wrap up this conversation by giving you one more point of reflection on why I've been able to have 1,000+ successful one-on-one clients. Okay, so it is a little obvious, but client fit. Okay, I don't take on clients who don't want to do the work. Because I don't want to be chasing you, because I don't want to feel like I don't know how to do my work because I have a client here who doesn't want to do the work. Okay. So if you're looking for somebody to chase you and to beg you and to do this, like, that really puts me in a place where I feel really invalued, to be honest. Like, honestly, the type of skill and the caliber of skill that I have and the refinement of my methodology that I've done over the last years of my practice and the 1,000+ successes that I have had with one-on-one clients, it actually makes me feel like you don't value my work. You know what I mean? So if I'm actually experiencing a client who wants to remain exactly where they are, I'm just not going to be the right fit of a mentor for them. I'm just not going to be the right person to hold this space. And you're going to feel frustrated with me, and I'm going to feel frustrated with you. And it's just not the right client fit. Okay. And there is a scarcity energy that can come through because it's like, oh my gosh, this client, inquired to work with you. And this client, wants to pay you, and they have, they're ready with their card to pay you. And it can be really enticing to take on that client, as I mentioned, like, okay, very early on in my work, there may have been one or two, but the process of knowing who is an aligned fit for you is really just about knowing who it is that you are as a mentor or a coach or a therapist or whatever your title is in the healing arts. And so for me, it's important to know that the person who's coming to work with me, they want to, at some point, extend and expand beyond where it is that they currently are. So for example, on a scale of like 1 to 10, and this is just like an arbitrary made up scale. And so if on a scale of 1 to 10, somebody's at like a 6, okay? And with me, they want to get to an 8. Okay, we're probably compatible because you're at 6 and you want to get to an 8. Now, if you are somebody who's at 6 and you want to stay at a 6, then like, I'm not the one for you. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of coaches and therapists and mentors who would be happy to be that person to hold space for the 6, right? Like, if that is the thing that you want to do and you just need a safe space to just like be in this energy, that is a beautiful place to be. But if we're working together, I want you to at least want to go to a 6.5, okay? And I'm not saying tomorrow you need to go to a 6.5. We're working together to have a cohesive and tangible goal that we're working with within a reasonable time frame. So if 6.5 is going to take us 6 weeks, then we're going to take the 6 weeks. If that's a 12-week thing for you, depending on your baseline, then we're going to take the 12 weeks to do that, right? Like there's a variation of how fast we can go depending on the person's nervous system. And so if I know that the person is at a 6 and they just want to stay at a 6 and they need help just staying at a 6, I'm probably not the right person. And that's been very important for me to know. Right. And part of why my one-on-one clients always have to apply to be my one-on-one client. And we have a whole process of, going through an application and really seeing if both of us are a fit for each other. Like, am I the right mentor for you for the goals that you have? Because if you're like, yeah, I want to learn how to take care of a zebra, I'm like, okay, like that's not my expertise. So I'm not going to be the right mentor for you, and vice versa. Like, are you the right client for me? And being specific that way. And as I mentioned, like, there is a scarcity mindset that comes, which is like, oh no, I'm saying no to clients, and it's like, you would definitely make more money if you just said yes to everybody and if your work was for everybody. But back to point 1 and 2 that I made about really just having a methodology in place to know what kind of transformation you're leading. And then 2, really actually understanding what is your own specific energy imprint leads you to know if this is not in alignment for you. Okay. And truly, this has been a very big blessing for me, because sometimes you just know somebody's not the right client. Like, as soon as you read their application or you get on the phone with them, you very much know that this is not the right client. And your physical body, at least my physical body, will be like, it feels like laborious to me. Because now I'm like, I know I have to chase this person. Like, I know this person is wanting to be chased, and they're going to not show up, and they're not going to be consistent. And it's like, I don't want you, you know what I mean? Like, come here ready to do the work. Come when you're ready to do the work. Like, I'm already holding this container. You come to this container when you're ready to do the work, right? There's plenty of other spaces where it's not about doing the work. It's about, something else, which might be more of a value for you at this time of your life. So clients match and clients alignment, and really, making sure that the opportunity is the right opportunity is a very, very important part of my practice. So having said all of that, I don't think it's fair to say that you should know all of these things from day one, because I am reflecting, like I said, over a decade of this, right? And so maybe you don't have 1,000 clients to reflect on, maybe you have 5. And that's a really great place to start, because much of my reflection on this started when I was at 5 clients. Very early on, I knew, I'm not ever taking on a client like this, and you sometimes learn the hard way. It's like your intuition told you, but you didn't listen. And then you took on a client where they didn't want to do the work. They just wanted you to chase them. And so you can learn that at client 5. You can learn that at client 2. You may know yourself better than I did. And then you already know these things. So you don't have to repeat you don't have to have such a big sample size of 1,000 clients to learn that. Because I definitely think I probably learned most of this at client 5, like I said. So my confidence in being able to lead such transformations comes down to having a methodology in hand, which helps me build the type of confidence that I have in order to be able to work with the type of clients I do. The second is to maintain my own energetic imprint, my own essence in my work. And the third is to really be aligned with the type of clients that I'm deciding to work with. Yeah, I've learned more lessons here, but for the sake of brevity of this podcast episode, which is not that short, I'll leave you with these 3 for today. So take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram at shanila.satar and let me know what resonated with you in this episode. Definitely subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And as I mentioned, you are invited to come train in Flow Breathwork Facilitator training, where you'll learn a methodology to help your clients get results. You'll learn how to really step into your own authentic voice, and you'll learn what type of clients are the most aligned for you. So if any of that sounds interesting, head to www.flowbreathworktraining.com and I'll leave you a link in the show notes. And friends, just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.